cheer for your Sydney Swans. Cheer, cheer the red and the white, honour the name by day and by night.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club.
So to all you loyal Swans out there, you just can't get enough of the red and the white.
Fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
While our loyal Swans are marching onwards to victory.
G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. You're joined as always by the crew from Sydney. I'm Harps, and I have Noddy with me this week.
That's right, you lucky loyal Swans fans. Today we're going to be talking about our very nice win over the Roos and look ahead to the Pies clash in Adelaide for Gather Round. And remember, if you like what you hear, give us a follow. All right, let's kick things off with a quick game recap.
Yeah, big win, just what the doctor ordered. Saturday night, 32,000 people at MRVL. The Swans really ran away with it second half, 65-point win in the end, but we were a comfortable margin for much of the game. Kangaroos 8-4-52, including a couple of late goals. They were lower than that for much of the third and fourth quarter. 18-9, 117 for the Swans. Goals raining in from everywhere. Great to get a win like that. It was lovely to, I think, see the team open up and really, show what they could do, albeit against a team that we think disappointed a little in North Melbourne. But we'll get to all of that. Noddy, off the top, I know you love your three words to sum up the game. What have you got for us?
Sentimental, optimistic, and impressed. And allow me to work through those. So obviously, Lukey Parker in the blue and white was tough to see. I think probably most Swans fans would have felt the same sort of feeling that I was feeling, and obviously you can't question what happened. He's looking after himself, and he's losing a spot. I mean, I know we've had a lot of injuries, so ironically, he probably still could have played in our starting 22. But he's looking after himself. He's got that extra year down at North, and probably a coaching pathway. So plus he's from Victoria originally, so he's probably got a stack of family. So you can't really hold it against him because he's been such a wonderful statesman of the club. 290 odd games or whatever it was. But it was just it's that first official game when he plays our team, and it's jarring. It just doesn't. You look at it and you go that just looks wrong. But he had a pretty good game, so it changed pretty quickly when he started to play well. I thought, God, we better shut him down because he's going to do a number on us here. But optimistic. So the past couple of weeks, I've sent rockets up Wilbur and Ollie. I think they've been down on what we know the type of footy they can play, but they were just on song from early, both of them. And Hayward, we'll talk about, but he had a ripper of a game, and Ollie did too. And so it was just really pleasing. So that sort of that leadership that those guys brought, gave a sense of positivity. And even though it was tight in the first half, and we'll talk about that, it just felt like we were in it. We were going to have a crack because these guys were stepping up, and I think the other players were feeding off that. But in terms of impressed, by the end of the game, as you've already touched on, it was probably a game of halves if we're going to talk in footy cliches, but it was a very polished overall performance, I think. And first half was different from the second half, but I think it was just a very pleasing win, to be honest. Very pleasing.
Yeah, no cliches around here, Noddy. No,
that's right. Yeah, we don't have time for that. Wait, is that a cliche? No.
Yeah, they're rarer than hen's teeth. We spent plenty of time talking about Hayward and Florent upping their games, so let's just spend a little time to acknowledge that they both played really well, right?
Yeah,
It was nice. Big first quarter. I mean, 5 goals in the first quarter is always going to set you off on a good run in the game. But I think we were impressed with the skills. Hayward's mark was a beauty for the second goal. Florent's lovely goal in the run. Nice to see him doing that thing, I think, right?
Yeah, definitely, mate. And good kicking is good footy, right? So obviously that first quarter against Freo last week, 0-5, put us on the back foot, and it was just a pressure cooker. Well, pretty much to the last seconds of that game, wasn't it? But
yeah,
you start well, and everything changes. I mean, to North's credit, they fought back really tough. They had some real dominance around the stoppage, especially in the first half. But I think our intercepts and I spoke about this last week, and I'm sort of jumping ahead myself here and into the reflections of the game, mate. The thing that I have commented on as being missing, and in stark contrast to last year, is that we haven't had turnovers and points from turnovers where we probably want them. But we had an amazing effort from our forward half pressure this game against the Roos. And I'll go through the stats later, but it was really pleasing to see that we'd lifted in that area. So it seemed like it had been in focus and that they'd addressed it and that they'd implemented the changes they need to, and they actually achieved it. So that was another really pleasing element, the fact that we went from intercepting and scoring in the first half through pressure, but then by the end of the game, old Swans footy, Bloods footy, winning the contest, winning the tackles, winning the clearance. So, really pleasing.
That's good. I mean, we'll talk about the stats in a second. I felt the same. I enjoyed watching, it felt like the Swans of old, right? The pressure that reminded me a lot of the games last year where we would have that 10, 20-minute period where just no one could touch us, couldn't get the ball, goals just raining in. I mean, as I said, I thought the Kangaroos rolled over pretty easy. I was quite surprised how easy we had it in the second half. I don't think we'll get that against many teams this year. But I mean, equally, like watching a bunch of new players. I mean, there were probably, I don't know if you know how many actually in the team this week that weren't in last year's team, Noddy, but I mean 5, 6, 7, right? It was it's a new look Swans team. It was good to see them gel so quickly and I mean smash them, right? They played them off the park.
And really, Papley was the only one that had started this year and was out, but joined that very deep injury list. So, for the past, three games, I think we've had a new team and we're gelling. We're trying to figure out how to play a new, like a slightly adjusted new game plan under Coxie, and so and you feel it's hard to know whether or not. North just capitulated in the second half, or it was because of our pressure and our polish. And as you say, we kicked 7 goals to their 1 in the third.
Yeah.
Maybe there was an element of just blowing them away, but it was from players that I think we were spreading the load, which was nice to see. Obviously, our senior players did have solid games. They didn't have standout games. But just on our senior players, I will say, congrats to Lloydie and Heaney for their 200th game together. That's quite an achievement. I think both those guys had pretty good games, but again, not stellar games. Certainly not. I don't think Heaney has reached the heights of his performance last year, but he's just been playing his role.
He had a lot of disposals again, though, right? He had a lot of the ball. I mean, even I agree, he wasn't at his best, but he's still all over it, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I think one of the commentators said, if Heaney's just getting 20 or 25 disposals, but he's using it the way he is, which is winning second possession from the clearance, and then there was that beautiful inside 50 that he did to, I think it was maybe Hayward or Tom Henley, I think, in the second half. But it was just a beautiful kick and very Heaney-esque. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of guys. I think it was an even contribution this game. And look, North it's hard to really know where they are. They're a team stacked with talent. There's a weight of expectation. They've got one of the best coaches in recent, in the modern era. So, I think there's pressure on them to turn it around. They had an admirable loss, or close loss to the Dogs, a smashing of the D's, and then an admirable loss to the Crows. So, yeah, I think that's why most Swans fans were a bit nervous coming in. But it was a good game, I think, in the first half, but it was a very relaxing game for Swans fans, I think, in the second half. But yeah, how about Jacob Constanti? That kid he's the best.
Look, I thought Parker and Constanti both had points to prove, to be honest. And look, while we're on it, we should just take a moment to reflect on Chad acting like a 13-year-old the whole game, right? I thought that was fantastic. I was saying to you before we started the podcast, there was on Fox, people at the ground wouldn't have seen this, but there was this great 15 seconds of telly where they were waiting for the first bounce and they just zoomed in right close on Chad and he's just standing there smiling, waiting to do his thing. and then just flips the bird. Luke Parker, right? Saturday night prime time, just giving him a big finger. And I thought, okay, yeah, it's going to be a good one. And sure enough, it was. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch.
He was very giggly, wasn't he? You could tell, like I don't know. It was fun to watch. I think you've said it there. One commentator was really ripping into him, saying, if Harley Reid is coming under such scrutiny for flipping the bird at fans, then this needs to be looked at. And it's like, oh, okay, mate. The only thing that needs to be looked at is that clearly Parks and Chad have a good relationship, and that they can get away with things like flipping the bird to each other. I don't know. I guess it's not a great look, but I didn't really mind it. But I guess Chad had a pretty quiet night by his standards. I don't know if it was anything to do with flipping the bird. Do you think? Conspiracy theory?
Look, I don't want to sour the mood, but I mean, a lot of people were talking about Parker pre-game, right? And I mean, I was struck watching him that he's still got a lot of fight. I think he's our last surviving premiership player. I was thinking that on Saturday. I don't think anyone else is still playing from that team. But look, he's still got time in him. 32. I mean, he was up for the fight. I mean, do we want to muse for a while on why we parted? I don't blame him for leaving. I think it was a really horrible run of results, right, that led to him leaving. And I think it was probably the stage, maybe with Horse as well, where something's got to change, right? If you do that twice, I don't think you could just expect better results with the same personnel. But I mean, what are your views? He doesn't look like a player who's finished to me. Obviously he's a legend to us, right? So it struck me as on the other team.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny the way that it played out. Obviously, and Parker had a haphazard 2024, but ended in the playing the grand final and kicking those 3 junk time goals in the grand final. But his decision would have been made much earlier, before obviously the shellacking, and before Horse made the decision to pull out effectively 1 year earlier. And so I think, look, I don't think there's whispers of potentially bad blood, but I mean, I didn't see it. I think it was just an honest and open conversation about what's best for him and his family, and he got effectively an additional year, got a 3-year deal at North with probably a coaching pathway, and he's from country Victoria originally, so I gather most of his family is still down there, and so what, you can't hold it against him. It's just, it was a little bit like I don't know, Ryan O'Keefe for me. He was so close to 300, and is the type of player that you think is always he's going to play forever in the red and white. And I mean, we've had other 300 gamers, obviously, but they're up there as club legends. And I think Parker still definitely is, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it still doesn't change the fact it's a jarring image. Obviously, we've seen him in the preseason in that Guernsey. We've seen him against other teams, but the second he comes up against us, it's an odd feeling, but certainly one that you can't. Yeah, you just sort of have to admire, I think, except the fact he was playing well and kicking goals. It was like, okay, got to put the brakes on him here, or get Chad to flip him a very casual bird, a cheeky bird.
When he did that celebration to the crowd, it was in blue and white, right? But it looked like red and white. We've seen that so many times, haven't we?
That's right.
First goal.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, the point that got me onto that was he was a pest. Parker was a pest, and Constanti as well. Both.
Yeah, Jake really felt like JK had something to prove to that first tussle with Blakey, and then he smashed Wicks in the backs, and Wicks did the old rugby league elbow to his face, which a commentator, I think Xander Maguire, was saying that needs to be looked at. It's like, come on, mate, he got poleaxed in the back. What do you expect him to do? But yeah, I don't know. I think JK, I mean, it's a funny thing, right? He couldn't crack into the Swans. He's a first round draft pick in the ilk of Tom Papley. He's from Gippsland, so everyone's saying he's the next Tom Papley. Can't get a game, and he goes down to North effectively steak knives with Parker, and he's getting games already, and he's looking like an AFL footy player. So. Look, I think with Papley out, we probably could have used him this season, but we've got other small forwards who have stepped up. Obviously, Hanley's been a real find, and Caden Cleary's come back in, and Gus Sheldrick can play that role, not to mention Corey Warner, who's really stepped up himself. So, yeah, look, the Roos were, I think their fans will be disappointed I think they would have expected a bit more, or certainly for them to have a bit more effort throughout the second half. Because the first half was pretty close, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. But by the end of the game, mate, we'd plus 19 inside 50s. We'd taken our chances. Our biggest score this year was super efficient in front of goal, good kicking, good footy. The point I raised earlier, I've got the number for it here. We'd scored an average of 24 points a game from forward half chains. And last year, I think we were banking 30 points a game, from that. We effectively tripled that stat in the game against the Roos. We'd scored 63 points from forward half chains. So from pressure in the forward half, turning it over and going in. But so it just says, we ramped up our pressure, capitalised, and we took our opportunities, and it just changes the whole dynamic of the game.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching new players slide into those chains as well. I haven't got it exactly here, but I made a note in the game. There was one that was like, I think Laddams through Bice to Hanley and Sheldrick was in there as well. And four players. I mean, some of them got less than 5 games in them, right? So it was lovely to see him slotting in and taking off so much. I actually felt as well it was such a walkover second half. I don't feel like we learned a great deal about the team. I really felt they laid down. I don't think we're going to have many weeks, but equally, look, you got to beat the teams in front of you, and if they're going to give you the run of the park like that, it's good to score 120 points, right?
That's right. You got to take it's game of momentum, right? So you've just got to push it. But I mean, obviously, you get to that point as Swans fans, and we always say it, like put your foot down in the throat.
Yep.
But as you said, Larky got those 2 junk time goals, and geez, he's such a good kicker.
Oh, the first one was beautiful.
Oh my God,
boundary. Lovely goal. Yeah.
Goodness. But speaking of goal accuracy, I think we were going to talk about a stinker.
Yeah, before we get to
cue the sound.
Bob Metal, yeah, we our sound guys told us we have a flatulent sound effect, so we were toying with the idea of introducing the stinker of the week. Insert sound effect. Anyway, that was still in the maybe pile.
Yeah, that's right at the top of the maybe pile.
But look, maybe more broadly. I got a lot. There was a lot of text coming through about Laddams during the game. I think people are enjoying watching him. He's trying very hard. He looks a little disconnected from the game. I think not sure where he's meant to be, or looks like he's finding his way. But I think his pluck, as it were, is winning him quite a few fans. And as I say, I thought he was very good last week against Freo too. But all the cameras on him, half time. After the siren, you're like, come on, Adams. It's a pretty gettable goal as well, right? What was he, like 25 metres out on the angle?
Yeah.
You're thinking, okay, bury this, right? And oh my gosh, I've kicked better down on the Barrow Oval.
Yeah. I mean, I think he, all you can do in that moment, it's a little bit like where you're running to catch the train or the bus, and then the door just shuts, and it takes off, and the whole carriage is looking at you, and you're like, you just missed the bus, and you've been running to get it. And I think he did that little humble giggles, like
he was laughing about it. Yeah,
he's laughing about it.
The Kangaroos play all over him.
Yeah, I mean, look, what can you do? It's but he to his credit, he came back and he kicked a goal in the third. So
yep, and look, his effort has not gone unnoticed as well, right? I think he's really trying hard, and this is a spot in the team, right? Like, I mean, I'd say he's probably getting another couple of weeks, so. If he keeps building on those, and he's winning some fans with the effort as well, so
yeah, definitely. I think it was Jules who said, like, I don't know what it is, but he's all of a sudden quite endearing. It's like, because he's had so many hurdles that have come from himself over the journey. Like his brain fades, his gut punching against Port Adelaide. He I think he concussed Woden in a VFL game, so he missed that. I think it was the 22 run to the grand final. His one game last year was against the Port 112-point loss. So I think it's time for him to, have a good run at it, because I think he does have something to add. Like he kicked that beautiful goal from 50 against Freo last week. So and it's good to have a genuine second ruck option.
He's doing a good job there. Noddy, we'll go on to the Bob medal, but Braden Campbell caught your eye as well. A player I love. What did you think about him?
Oh, I just wanted to call out that long bomb on the run. The goal, it was beautiful. He's just got such a beautiful left peg, and me and my bro have crunched the numbers, and he's more accurate on the run. He's one of those players that I think it was you who sent that article to the group saying that. I was quite surprised to see it. He's one of our least accurate goal
Bottom
kickers.
3 for accuracy. Yeah. I mean,
Whereas,
for someone who's so natural out on the field too, right? Right, left,
oh,
any angle he can just chisel it off, right?
his field kicking.
Well. Yeah.
But maybe that's it, and maybe that's how he scores goals. Like, just make sure that he's playing, having kicks in general play. But I've seen him kick set shot goals as well. So I think it's a mental thing. But anyway, it was bloody beautiful. Is the point?
It was. He's got a great future. I think he's a wonderful talent. He's going to go
absolutely. We're very lucky to get him and Goulden in the same year, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we will do the Bob medal. It's our version of the Bob Skilton medal. We give out 3, 2, 1 points for the best Swan on the ground each game. And then at the end of the season, we add them up. And we're going to try and see if we can get the winner to come and speak on the podcast. See how that goes, right? And we have got a sound effect this week. It'll be right at the end. So let's start with 1 point. Noddy, who'd your 1 point go to?
So I think we've given Grundy the 1 point deservedly. I think I think he had a massive year last year. Obviously, it was a game-changing inbound trade for us in both salary sense and performance. And this year, he's probably started at a similarly high level, although he's come up against some pretty decent ruck opposition, and he didn't have it any easier this week, or when we played the Roos against Cherry, who has probably been one of the best rucks for the past 18 months, certainly the past 12 months. And to keep Cherry as quiet as he did, I think is 1 point enough. He got 12 disposals himself, 13 contested, 4 tackles. We won the contest, we won the clearance. I just think he was a big part of that, and it's good to see him playing the type of footy we know he can play. He's very skillful by hand. He's everything that he was at Collingwood and less so at Melbourne because they didn't use him. But he's like that extra midfielder. He's very skillful. But I think we're using him heaps better this year. We're resting him a bit more. We're using Laddams, lesser so McLean in the middle. I just think it's a better approach for longevity because it's a long season, as we know.
Look, he's so key to us as well. I mean, I said this last year, but like if you lose him, it's a huge amount of pressure on a secondary ruck, right? It's going to be Laddams or McLean. It's just a different caliber. And I mean, when you rely on so much of the goal scoring coming out of the midfield and the hands of the midfielders, you've got to get the ball in their hands, right? I mean, to be fair, we bounced about 10 names around these points, but we did enough on Grundy.
Even contribution, that's what happens.
That's right, it's true. 2 points, Noddy?
Yeah, Hayward. I mean, this again could have gone either way, but I've gone with Hayward here. Just 15 disposals for a small forward, 6 marks, 3 inside 50 marks, 4 goals, 9 score involvements. He really was our best player in the first half, and then definitely in our top 2 by the time the game had finished. And as we started the podcast, he's coming to the microscope the past couple of weeks because he's playing really nowhere, or had been playing nowhere to his level. And this is the game. This is the Wilbur we know. This is the Wilbur that's going to kick, hopefully 30, 40 goals and just be that even, consistent contributor. Maybe when he's not seeing the goals as clearly as this game, he's contributing a bit better, the forward 50 tackle pressure. So he did everything this game. He was taking chest marks. He was kicking true. It was fantastic. It was really fantastic to see.
So, not scripted, Noddy, but what do you think the difference was? I'm just listening to that, and I agree with all of it. And I mean, if I think back, first 3 games, he was, he was a shell of himself. There's no confidence at all. He was a different player. He's taking head high marks 20 minutes in, on the run inside the 50, and then converting, right? So, I mean, was it Papley going out? You think that made a difference?
I don't know. It's a good question, Harps. I really don't know. It may have played some role, but I don't know. Maybe if it's just a mental reset. I think that him and Ollie were on one of the club run podcasts during the week. I don't know if that sort of just gave him the space to relax and say, you're loved. Yes, if you're feeling pressure from yourself, just try to let it go and play your normal game. I mean, even last week against Freo, he was just doing very uncharacteristic stuff. So yeah, maybe there's some individual pressure he's feeling, on himself, like knowing that we've got 6 or 7 players out, like a lot of players out where our goals came from last year, and Heaney isn't really contributing like he did last year as well. So it's possible that it's just a self-inflicted thing, but I'm not sure what he did to release himself, but it was it worked because he was excellent.
I mean, it's funny to hear you referred to him earlier as a senior player, and I hadn't thought of him as a senior player before. But when you say it, it's true. He is. He's probably, I don't know, what, 8th, 9th season with us. Must be a long way in now.
Yeah, I think it was 2013 national draft. That's probably a bit early. Sorry, him and Ollie were our 2 first-round picks from. The year escapes me, but they've both got 150 games on their belt. They've both been there when we've lost. They know how to win and they know how to lose. And when you've got so many key players out, these are the guys that do need to step up. And they are here for 5-6 years. They're on pretty good money, but they're also really backed in by the club. So. Yeah, look, they played really, really well. I'm really happy, and I just hope that they can keep it rolling because we're clearly a much better team when they're firing.
Yeah, 2 points, Hayward, and good on you for turning it round. Well done. So we have got a sound effect now, Noddy. This is new.
Look out.
For 3 points. Drum roll, please. Oh. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
We have a new high-tech stuff.
It's so futuristic, guys. I don't know if the fans are ready. I love it.
We have a new Swans favourite, a man at the other end of his AFL journey. What is he on? Second game? Riley Bice. Third game. Noddy, tell us about the game. I mean, the man himself, he looks like, you call him Miami Bice. I love that. He looks very suave, doesn't he?
Yeah.
What do you got on him?
Oh, I just like I don't know. He's just, it's a great story, isn't it? Like, and I got to honest. I watch every draft night, and our third selection rolls around, and we take this guy that I hadn't heard of. I don't watch too much VFL. I watch the Swans obviously when they play, but taking a pick 41. He was a key contributor in that.
I'll just pause for a second there. So, for the listeners there, when Noddy says I don't watch too much VFL, he means what? 4 games a week, Noddy? 5 games a week?
No, I don't watch that much VFL. I watch all the AFL games, but I will usually mostly watch the Swans VFL game.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to work the family. There's family commitments and stuff, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch Frankston and Williamstown slog it out, unless I'm really bored, and then I'll probably give it a good nudge. But
let me interrupt you.
No, you're right, mate. You're right. So he's taken a pick 41, obviously a mature age draftee, 23. He was a key player in the Werribee team that broke the flag drought. I think they hadn't won in 30 or 31 years. He had averaged 20 plus kicks and marks, and he got in VFL Team of the Year, and we picked him up, and it was excellent recruiting. And whether that's Beatson or Keane or someone else or a combination of everyone, but this is the one so far that is the shining light of our haul, because I think there were a lot of Swans fans who were scratching their head because we'd just come off a 60-point shellacking where none of our key players turned up, and they're all they've developed it fortuitously in their own right, and there were probably 4 or 5 top 30 keys that we could have gone for, and we went for another small forward, and we just let one go, JK, who ends up tackling everyone on the field and off. And then we took another Hayward type player in our second pick, Bowman, so Detoli Bowman, and then Bice. And the Bison, Miami Bice baby, he is the goods. So he had 26 disposals, 20 of them kicks at 85%. And I was thinking about this, like, obviously Goulden out is just, it would cripple any team as much as it has us. But the loss of his kicking, his beautiful kicking, has been reduced somewhat by this unbelievable treasure that we've found, hailing from Albury, by the way. Albury Tigers, grew up a Swans fan.
He did grow up a Swans fan. I heard that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
in Riley Bice. And so it's just a feel-good story everywhere. You know, he's interviewed after the game. He's humble as.
Yeah, looks so relaxed, doesn't he? Just
Yeah,
not
just
right, not overall at all. Just
just a
everything
chill
else.
dude with a sick mo, who can just lace out. Remember that when he's cutting in the, I think it was the fourth quarter or something, and it looked like he was coming in that angle against the Freo game, in the Freo game when he kicked that goal, the second last goal of the game.
Yeah, it was
And I
lovely.
thought, God, he's going to go again here, but he selflessly did this like,
just put it back in the middle. Yeah,
and I don't know who he kicked to, but we ended up goaling from that. So he is highly skilled. He could probably still put on a little bit more bulk, but not hopefully he doesn't lose any of his natural pace. But I think the other thing is with Blakey, with Lizard being used a little bit differently, I think it's nice to have another run and gun player that has a very accurate kick. And Blakey's kick can be inaccurate at times, but it also can just be, the origin for beautiful things, right?
Yeah,
so
genius. Yeah.
Having those two guys run off the halfback and allowing Ollie Florent to push up and be a bit more forward half, him scoring goals hopefully, and then that's been allowed by Wicks as that small defender role in lieu of Cunningham. So, I mean, you already said it's a different team, but it's coming together and it's clicked this week. It's clicked this week, and it's hard to know whether it's the fact that they've played a couple of games together against hard opposition, or whether the Roos just raised the white and blue flag. But I think it's probably a little bit more the former, to be honest. And we can't take anything away from Bice. That was just an excellent individual game, and it just gives you the feel goods, doesn't it?
I mean, the commentators couldn't stop talking about him.
Yeah.
I mean, welcome to the Swans family, Bice, and welcome to the Bob Medal leaderboard. 3 points. Fantastic, and we hope for more. It was a great game to watch.
Absolutely, and we wouldn't be we're not the first ones to say this, but you think about how many of these types of players are not drafted by AFL clubs because they're not the best, like in the top 36 of 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it takes a couple of years. People live life, stuff happens with their family, work. They get better as they get older.
Not naturally physically imposing, right? He doesn't look like he looks like he's probably still got some gains to get there. Yeah, I mean, it is a great story, isn't it? And, it's one of those ones could have gone the other way, right? He might have been totally overawed, but he's just looked good from the second he's had a ball in his hand, I think.
Well, I mean, the thing is that we started with Ben Patton, right? And, Riley Bice came into the team off the back of a few, I think it's fair to say average performances by Patton. I think he will play a role. He's going to be one of the senior players in the VFL, and he can step up when required. But he's sort of in that category of probably Francis, where he's got AFL depth, but he is that depth player. And I'm being diplomatic and polite. I'm trying to avoid some of the slamming, but Bice took his opportunity and has absolutely run with it. And I mean, he's a lock. Like he's creative. He's beautiful kick of the footy. He's got time on the ball. He works hard around the contest. Like he's quite defensive minded as well. So it's sort of allowed Rampy just to fly under the radar, don't you think? Rampy's just like a role player at the moment.
Yeah.
That he's just quietly doing his thing.
We should move on to the honourable mentions. Actually, those are the 3 points winners, but we honestly bounced, including Rampy, we bounced 7 or 8 names around for those points. A lot of good performances. I might just go first on one. We were kicking all these names around, 7 or 8 names I said, and no one mentioned the Marty. And look at 4 goals, 1, kicked well again. He's up to 9 goals for the season. I think he's 3rd in the Coleman, maybe joint 3rd. There's a lot of people there. Look, I've got no problem with these players who. Someone said afterwards in the chat that we have, yes, he kicked the goals, but I didn't really feel like he impacted the game. But I mean, these goals add up, right? The goals that you don't notice are just as important as the ones you do. So I think Amani came close. I was again pleased with him. I'm pleased with him all season. He's not at his best, but he's still scoring goals and scoring from limited opportunities too. So
I think that's the point, Harps. I think you're bang on. Like if him, Amadi, and Hayward can all kick anywhere from 30 to optimistically 40 or 50, and then our mids can come in and do that, 10, 15, 20, then we're going to be there again as that high scoring team. And you got to kick goals to finish in the top four. Really, you've got to defend well as well, but you've got to also score. And so last year taught us having many avenues to goal is a blessing, and we probably haven't been there as much this year with a change of game plan. But in a game like this, if he's taking 5 marks, I think it was two inside 50, but he's putting on so much forward pressure. Like this cannot be overlooked. Like he's working hard off the ball. He's not stopping. He is tackling. It can be frustrating when they don't. Him and McLean, they obviously they're still working on their interaction together. And I actually like them as the two tools at the moment with Laddams as that backup ruck role, because it allows them to work on their gelling. And then you've got Hayward and then also Heaney when he's rolled forward. I didn't like seeing Heaney go up for the mark in those two tools like crumbing, because I think it should go the other way around. But I mean, who's going to stop Heaney flying for a mark? That's like telling Michelangelo to put the paintbrush down. But
that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks, mate. No cliches here. But look, Amadi, excellent. I think really, really pleasing, and he's on a trajectory. I'm hoping he can improve his output from last year and his consistency, because he's a contributor, and he himself has worked hard to get where he is. Like he was drafted young, come through the rookie draft, but he's had to really, really earn his spot, and it's come under intense scrutiny over the past, 2 losing grand finals. So more so the more recent one. But anyway.
Speaking of changing game plan, I think we're all happy to see McCartan back at the back, aren't we?
Yeah.
Another good game. Just looks very composed. Great mark. Distributes the ball well once he's got it.
Intercepts. Yeah, it's got everything.
I mean, kept Larky. I mean, he kicked 2 great goals at the end, to be fair, but the game was done by then, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Larky had kicked 12 goals to this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And McCartan keeps him to 0. And this is after he gets moved back the week before and had a good game, or what felt like a good game, but Tracy kicked 4 on him. So to go from that in a tight win to, keeping one of the competition's best most accurate full forwards to effectively 0 for, the bulk of the game is excellent.
Yeah. Look, it's a spot where we need composure, right? And size. We've got some composed defenders in Mills and others, and we've got some talent in Blakey, but just a big guy who takes a good mark and settles everything down and distributes it well.
Yeah, I think Hamling and Rampy are allowing him to do that, and Blakey can do that hybrid. Come up as that extra high, tall defender, or he can just run and gun. But I think Rampy and Hamling, that extra tall is key. And whether that's Melican or Hamling, that comes down to, injury and performance. But I think Hamling is really helping our structure down there, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's not perfect. He doesn't win everything, but he competes and he's composed. Like the word you just used there, I think, our backs are looking very composed at the moment, which is good.
They will come under more pressure, though, I think, right?
Yeah.
Tougher tests.
Definitely.
Probably this weekend, for example. We talked about Florent. Good game. Rowbottom again. Rowbottom was everywhere.
Captain's knock. I remember watching an interview with him in his first or second year, and he was just a really well-spoken young man. And then since then, obviously, he's become the tackle beast that we know and love, and the consistent, top 3 B&F. Just a gun. And for him to play the way he did as a captain, 20 disposals, 10 contested, 7 clearances, equal best on ground with Cherry. He got 6 tackles, so equal first for us, and all with that huge gash on the cheek. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
like he's like, this cut in my face means nothing to me. he's the epitome of Bloods, right?
It makes me want to go harder.
That's right. Awesome to see. Yeah, I think he had he's at a slightly different role this year. He's been more effective. his disposals have been more effective, because last year it was just sort of tackle and hack it out. This year it's probably a little less of that, like with Jordan coming in and assisting on the opposition's best midfielder. Maybe Rowy's got a few more seconds, so his kicking's a bit more accurate. But yeah, it's awesome to see. So spreading the load again in the midfield.
Yeah. We're gonna move on momentarily to next week. Big game, gather round, obviously, big ceremony as well down in Adelaide. You did want to talk about Hanley though, as well, Noddy.
Oh, just I think I mentioned it. Like he's holding his spot. He's got great tackle pressure. He's kicking goals. He kicked 2-1. His handball. He's really clever handballer. I think he's somewhere. He kind of, I don't know who he reminds me of, but I don't want to say Papley. Everyone says Papley, but he physically looks like Papley. He plays probably like Papley as well. But I mean, he was lead up forward target a couple of times in the second half.
Yep.
He missed that one goal, but if he'd kicked 3 goals, right? The point is he's just locking down his position.
Yeah.
With the likes of Corey, Cleary, Sheldrick, with Papley out. When Papley comes back in, who drops out? So the competition, I feel, is amongst those guys, and Hanley is at the top of that at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, you mentioned that we could talk endlessly. A lot of good performances. You mentioned Cleary, for example. We could go on and on, but we won't. But it is a good point you make about what's coming up. There no forced changes, I think, this weekend, but maybe some optional ones. Pies Friday nights, Adelaide Oval. Pies are in 6th currently. Bookies have them about $1.50 favourites, so pretty tasty favourites. 3 wins, 1 loss, beating Carlton, as a lot of teams have.
0-4, baby.
Couldn't resist.
Well, you say your algo is like getting all these Carlton memes, like just like piling on their fans. I love that.
So, somewhere on Instagram, I don't know why, but last 2 weeks, all I'm getting is like people, it's just Carlton fans going nuts, or memes about Carlton fans, or Tony Soprano crying with a Carlton hat on, all that stuff. Anyway, well, they beat Carlton. They beat the Bulldogs, beat Port Adelaide. Only loss was against the Giants in the opening round. Giants themselves, a very good side. So, how do we feel, Noddy?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, we've won 4 of the last 5, including that amazing prelim in 22. Their last win against us was round 8-23. They've gotten older. They've got more experience, obviously, in that aging, but I think they've definitely bounced back from that big loss in opening round. But it's hard to know. It's hard to know where these other teams are, right? Obviously, Carlton is suffering at the moment. The Dogs are sort of hit and miss, and Port as well is looking. I mean, they're in their own year of transition, right, from Hinkley to whatever that other bloke's name is. So, it's hard to know where they sit, but they're a big time team, and this is Friday night of Gather Round, which is getting more and more popular. They do have a couple of big outs that I think are notable. Jordan De Goey with an ankle or Achilles, Schultz, who's really come into form for them with a hemi, as well as Dan Houston, who only got 2 games for that very dangerous bump. Unbelievable. I can't believe it's only 2. It's because the guy didn't get concussed. But, I mean, if you're penalising the action, that guy, he should have got like 5 weeks for that. But maybe if he played for any other club, he would have. But so they're big outs for the Pies, I think, right? And we'll probably roll with same structure. The only question is, Harps, is whether or not Logan did enough in his 1 game back.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's ever been said in the footballing world that you shouldn't change a winning team. But
no cliches on this potty, mate.
I'm going to say it there.
Yeah.
Like, what do we think? We roll with the same team, Logan, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think he has another week in the VFL personally. Like, it was funny. Like, he was marking everything. He missed a couple of, like, he could have probably kicked 5 or 6. He missed a couple across the face of the goal. He was marking well. He was playing up the wing for half chunks of the second quarter. So I don't know if that was in-game resting or.
He likes doing that, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he's got a good tank. That's the thing. He's more of a runner. He's never going to be that busting full forward that probably is more suited to Amati and McLean. He's going to be that sort of mobile,
Yep.
centre
Team
half forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think he's kicked 3 goals. He's looked pretty good. But I don't think you tinker with a winning team yet. I think probably, on paper, Laddams is that one that's probably in most danger. And not because of the shank, but because of that.
Yeah.
If you bring in another tall, then a tall's got to come out, and he's probably the logical one.
Yeah, and McLean can do half the rucking. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. So, but I think it's just roll on, roll over, and hope that we turn up with the same intensity and mindset, because it was a very good game. We played a very good game against the Roos.
Yeah. Look, we scored 18 goals, right? Was it 18?
I mean, we started 2024 with like 3 or 4 games like this, right? And everyone was just like, was freaking out. We'd scored like 3 goals, apart from the D's game, that was about 80 or whatever it was. But there were like 2 or 3 games where we were scoring like 18, 19 goals. And everyone's like, wow, we're looking pretty good. And this is obviously this is the first game where we've reached those heights. I'm not saying that we might be able to do we might be able to do it, but I'm not saying at the moment we don't look like we're going to be able to do that every week. So it's a week by week proposition, looking at how the opposition are playing within the game and within quarters. But I don't know. You bank it right for percentage more than anything. But yeah.
I mean, speaking of teams scoring a lot and looking elsewhere, Adelaide Crows look good, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, they can they can definitely feel aggrieved yet again that they're on the wrong end of the umpire's call at the end of that very exciting game against the Suns.
I didn't think it was that controversial. Did you think it?
Once it was explained to me. So it was, if it wasn't a mark, and we've already seen marks this year that were like Weddle against the Giants in Tasmania, that was bullshit, which changed the course of that game. Bloody Hawks, don't get me started. But if it wasn't,
we put the sound guy on alert.
That's right. If Rankin didn't have enough purchase on that as a standalone mark, then he was tackled in the marking action in the back. So it should have been a free kick to Rankin. So not saying he would have kicked it, but he would have got a point, you'd think, to even up the game. But the point is, both of these teams, probably unexpectedly to a large degree, are some of the form teams and the exciting teams. So we're coming up against the Suns after Port in a couple of weeks, and then I don't know when we're coming up against the Crows, but we've got them this year. I don't think we've played them twice.
Down, isn't it? Yeah, we got a tough little run coming up. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I just hope we rock up and we put on we bring that same effort. But we're going to be obviously in a predominantly white strip, a new Guernsey that was revealed. Do you have any opinions on the gather round Guernsey, mate?
Oh, I haven't seen it, Noddy. Tell me about it.
So it's pretty much all white as far as I understand. I don't think we've got red shorts. It's white shorts. I guess it's a home game for the Pies in that regard. But it's basically just kind of like a red line in the shape of the Opera House on the front, and that's it. I assume the numbers will be red as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of like people are saying it looks like a flat line or a little shimmy, little signs of life. But I mean, I think it looks pretty cool. I think there's been a bit of, especially against the Roos, I think a lot of Swans fans or Melbourne-based Swans fans were saying, why didn't we wear the red V? Because, the assumption is when we play in Melbourne away, we wear the red V out of respect for the heritage. But I think that the Roos have they've 50% white or whatever it is, so they've got so much white that we have to wear our traditional predominant red home Guernsey. So obviously we all love the red V. I think it looks fantastic. But you've got to work with the clashes, you've got to work with the AFL. But I don't know. Look, mate, if it's an opportunity to buy a new Guernsey, I'm all over it. So
yeah, fill the wardrobe again. Eh?
That's me, mate.
And you have got a bit of a thing for jerseys as well.
Merch in general, hats probably is my serious weakness.
Well, yeah. Any closing thoughts, Noddy? We got just for the listeners, we've got Collingwood in the gather round. Then we've got Port back at home at the SCG. It's good to know. Away to Gold Coast Suns, then GWS, SCG. Tough little run coming up. So you wouldn't want to be 3-2, I don't think.
Yeah.
around 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Nice to win this one.
It doesn't get easier, right? Especially when you start 0 and 2. But we're tracking well, and we just have to turn up and I think Sammy's been saying this the past couple of weeks. We'd rather start slow and build because obviously going the other way doesn't leave you with much confidence, and we know what happens when that can play out. But the other side of it is all these youngsters getting games now under their belt, and
Wonderful
it's
to watch, right?
yeah.
Very
And
exciting.
I was sort of when Coxie started this year, he's got a 4-year contract in front of him. Was he going to do that anyway? I think probably he wouldn't have as a plan A, but he's forced to with all our starting player outs, and so it's sort of like a silver lining. It's sort of like
absolutely.
games under youngsters' belts creates depth, creates internal competition, and it's a really good problem to have. So.
I mean, you mentioned earlier that sliding doors moment with Bice, right? With Patton starting, and then a couple of disappointing performances, and might never got a game. It's you're right. It's been great to watch these players come in the absence of the established players.
I got really big hopes for Gus Bus, Beef Sheldrick. He is a gun. He just needs a good run at it. I think I would be using him a little bit more forward. He's obviously, he's a great in and under player, but he just needs a good run at it. And he's been subbed the past couple of weeks, so he came on. I think he played a quarter effectively, had 8 touches, a goal, and a bunch of tackles. So and then he backed up and played the VFL the following day and was best on, really a level ahead of the other guys in our Swans VFL team. But I really am hoping that he can really step up this year and he gets the opportunity to. So that's why it's important for him to hold that spot, especially with all these players coming back in. But that wasn't actually my final thought, mate. My final thought, I was reading in some of an article on what to do in Gather Round. The official wine of the Swans is the Bird in Hand or a Bird in Hand.
Oh, right.
I don't know if you've heard of that winery, but is it that? Do you think someone in the Swans marketing team is like find businesses that are loosely connected to the animal of a swan or the colours? Because the beer is White Bay Brewery, right? And I never thought about this. It could be white and red, or red and white Bay Brewery. So they just need a loose connection, like almost
beer, by the way.
Spurious, like an ambiguous connection to the club, and then it's like, tick, you're our sponsor.
I mean, look, if we're going to have an official wine, you feel like it should come from Swan Valley, right?
Oh, how did they not say? I mean,
how did they miss that?
Oh my god! And there's some pretty good vineyards over there. Swan, WA. That's where the Swan came from originally. So you think that we'd have wrapped that up already? I guess it's too far away from Balmain, which is where I think most of the board live. But that's okay. That's okay. If we could all live there, we would. But
don't give their addresses out, Noddy.
No, I don't know their addresses. And look, I prefer Birchgrove over Balmain, so I'll just put that on record. But no, it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And look, I we're excited. I think when I'm not going, Sammy's going, you're not going. There'll be a bunch of Swans fans there. Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
You like Gather Round? You get into it?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to go. I think you'd enjoy it going. I mean, I was looking at the fixturing, and I think the Adelaide Oval's got 6 games, maybe 5 games. It's going to get a real pasting though in like a 4-day period or whatever. So yeah, I would. I'd like to go. I'd like to see us at a regional ground. I think they've only got 3 grounds this year. They've got one in the north of the city, Adelaide Oval, and then one out in the Barossa.
No Mount Barker this year.
Well, yeah, I watched this last year. I don't know where we were last year, but it was somewhere, like a 5,000 seat stadium.
That was Mount Barker, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go see us somewhere like that. So yeah, one year, but not this year. But you're right, Sam will be there, and he'll be back next week to tell us about it. So
awesome.
It's probably time. So I think we're at the end of the episode, and thank you for listening through to the end. If you're still with us, if you made it this far, it must mean we're doing something right. So give us a like and a follow. Whether in person or on the potty, we look forward to whenever you can join us next time. But until then, up the blood, can you Swannies?